Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am Garrett Weinzierl, joined, as always, by the one, the only, Kyle Fergusson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Garrett?
Dude, what a meaty AMA we have to dig through today.
Yes.
It's gonna be a thick show, but also a fun show. I love these AMAs. I love hearing from the Heroes devs. I love seeing their cheeky replies and teases to things we're curious about, concerned about, hoping for, or maybe just dreaming about.
Yeah. It's an interesting time to have an AMA for sure. We are not yet 3 weeks away from both Tassadar release and the Tower rework, the Call for Help update anomaly. So we are getting information that may pertain to next week, or it might be super duper far out. And
Far out, man.
Yeah, real far out, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's how these AMAs go, right? Like, there's, like, unless they specifically state in their answer, like, when it's coming, or kind of give us a ballpark idea if it's going to be soon, not so soon, or way in the future, it's all over the place. It's not like this is an AMA specifically for the next 3 months. That's not the case. This is a big old open AMA, and there's a lot of replies in there. To me, it looked like they were pretty damn generous with their replies. So that's going to be the main topic today. Is coming
Meat and
through.
potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be coming through this AMA. Before we get to it, though, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you're unfamiliar with Patreon, well, it's an opt-in way to subscribe to the podcast. $1 an episode, $2 an episode, whatever works for you. It's up to you, and it all helps. We really do appreciate it, especially right now. Things are crazy. We cannot thank you enough for the support, everybody. So thank you very much. So go check it out. Patreon.com/ITN. Get access to the Discord, sign up for patron games, get an ad-free feed, all kinds of perks over there. And to some of our more recent patrons, we wanted to thank Joel Turnbull, Roman Nosdevad is how I will choose to pronounce that one, and
That's
Louis
badass.
Scuderi. Thank you very much for the support, everyone. And again, you can go see our offerings of perks and support your favorite Heroes of the Storm podcast by going over to patreon.com/ITN. But let's dive right into it because there's a lot to talk about in this AMA. This week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
April 30th AMA. It just so happens that today is April 30th. So this is hot off the digital presses. It's not even, it's hot off the keyboard, I think is a better phrase for this.
Fresh from the screen into your heart.
Right off the Reddit.
There you go.
There it is. We found it. And right off the Reddit is not a roadmap. We get one more R word in there as we're just gonna kick the door right down the suggestion of getting a Heroes of the Storm roadmap was once again broached in this AMA, to which KO Milker got in there and fielded this question. Saying that they, quote, obviously have an internal roadmap for Heroes that usually looks over a year out. We'd like to give ourselves flexibility to add, change, remove, or move things around as needed, and a public-facing roadmap ties our hands in ways we're not always comfortable with. This makes sense. You and I got really frustrated really fast when we were doing a show about Apex Legends when it originally released because they showed a roadmap, and it was slower than dirt.
Yeah. It's nothing but asking for trouble these days. In fact, later on in the AMA, they gave the example that Janitor Leoric was done way earlier, but they had the event coming up with like the Raven High School Orphea business and the cheerleader Kerrigan, and they're like, you know what? Let's get the soap in there. Yeah, we'll make this a big thing. If they had let us know that Leoric would be done on time as it was, we would have all flipped our gourds.
Yeah. And now over, in the other big Blizzard game I spent a lot of my time reporting on in Hearthstone, we did just get like our first roadmap, and it's almost daunting how much, for lack of a better word, crap was all over the image that they showed. It's kind of insane, and we've never gotten anything like that before. But it's also like so vague. I don't really know how hyped to get about it. So, and frankly, I want to kick this off with I like how open and I feel honest that the Heroes team is with us. Like at no point do I feel they're giving us an unrealistic expectation of how, how much they can accomplish with their team size, right? Like I think of just last week, we talked about a Blue Post reply to someone who had just returned to the game and was concerned about no new heroes coming back to the game. And, Blues were replying, hey, we're just fine. Maybe it's not the exact clip you're used to from, over a year ago, but there's still plenty more coming. And we do need that reminder every once in a while. But I don't know. This is all in line with what I would expect. They're going to need to be more flexible than some of the other teams, even within their own studio.
I'm looking at this Hearthstone thing for the first time. This is there's like locked events. What? Like, okay, they made a roadmap, but it's throwing some bones. This thing is weird.
It's kind of a mess, right? Like it's just a ton of icons. Like
yeah,
I don't know how much stock to take into it. So and it's like. It's so freaking big. I know this is not a Hearthstone show. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but there's like new game mode. And they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, what is it? And they haven't really told us anything other than it's going to use our entire collection. But like that alone is like, what huh? What? Yeah. So very strange. But I brought it up more as a point of comparison because I didn't see anyone making this comparison, but I could see people being like, well, Hearthstone's got a roadmap. Why isn't Heroes of the Storm? It's like, it's not the same. From like game to game within Blizzard, the teams are so unique from one another. That's why they have like numbers associated with them. And right now, I mean, it's all relative, right? Because everyone's working remotely. But even on Blizzard campus, they might not even be in the same damn building as each other, let alone the same office or same floor.
Yeah.
So they operate very independently of one another. So. Anyway, my TLDR on the point I was trying to make, Kyle, is like Heroes team needs to be flexible. So this doesn't disappoint me at all. And it really lines up with my expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Kale Milker didn't leave it just there. He did continue saying, quote, well, what are we comfortable saying? We have new heroes in development, and we'll be sharing info on the next one soon. We have a huge lineup of hero reworks that we're excited about and want to continue breathing new life into old favorites regularly. We have new features coming that will make the game better while also improving our ability to support it. We have some of the coolest skins in the history of the game yet to come, and we want to be building toward a world where we can add more content to the game year over year. Stay tuned. So... color me, yeah. This is great. This is exactly the kind of statement I want to see come out of this AMA, especially, where it's been a while since we've gotten a new hero. It's been a while since we've gotten a new battleground.
Yeah, and certainly you can reuse those old assets, but look at Tassadar, how much art he received to get his new version. It wasn't just a number or even talent switcheroo. I'm curious to who they're referring to when they say old favorites. We know Diva is coming. We know that Lost Vikings has been on the docket for a very long time. Like who else is moldy?
Arthas.
There's things people. Okay,
Arthas
sure.
is a little moldy. I don't know if mold can grow on ice. If anyone out there is a mold scientist, then it could inform me of that.
Oh yeah, no. You've never seen anyone like geek out on like the black dots on ice and been like, this took like 500 years to grow. Don't step on it.
No, because I live in Florida. We don't really travel or deal in ice.
I'm sure there's a mold down there nerds get excited about.
Oh, there's definitely mold down here, Kyle. It just ain't growing on ice because there's no ice to grow on.
It's in your vents.
We had some under our laminate this year. It was
Sweet.
A bit of an ordeal that no one needs to hear about on a Heroes of the Storm show.
Gazlo, Stitches, when I'm looking like old heroes that like Arthas got life breathed into him.
Sindragosa breathed into him.
Yeah, exactly. We are playing Arthas in a much more solo lane or aggressive way with Sindragosa because of the call for help update. So I'm happy to let that simmer for a little bit it seems weird to me that we might be like, well, I mean, is there a place for Nova? There's heroes, even Gazlo, who have been reworked, it feels like multiple times. And okay, here's one. Looking back quite a ways, but big ol' Anubarak. What can we do about that guy?
Give him more base health for the love of God.
That'd be nice.
Jeez. Can we please give him a little base? Maybe return just a little more power to his beetle build? Maybe?
It's funny that we spend so much time making sure Muradin has both escape and engage, but Anubarak is he's fine, right? And you're like, well, sorta. It's so different than like Muradin. People get all up in arms because you jump in and they're like, you're doing it wrong. And now they gave it some block capabilities and they're like, no, you're encouraging it to be wrong. Look at Burrow Charge that does an AoE stun, like, and a slow on the other side. Like, how much more encouraging to engage do you have to make that ability? Like, is telling Anubarak to save that for disengage is like throwing away Christmas.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Another one that pops to mind, but has been reworked a lot of times for me is Tyrande. Because like it's not just like, I don't know, what we're talking about here is it really comes down to like gut feeling, right? Like how does it feel? Because like ETC, ETC's been kind of doing the ETC thing since the tech alpha. He hasn't changed that much, but he's working. He has a home. He is he's like a meta setter, right? Instead of a trend setter, like ETC is a meta defining hero.
Yeah.
So I don't look at ETC and go just because of, how old and kind of how set in what he does that hero is. I don't feel the need that ETC really needs a rework. But there's other heroes that I feel like Tyrande. Tyrande is a hero that just feels a little awkward right now. Don't really know where she fits. Still love playing her. One of my favorite heroes in the game and has been reworked many times. And yet still feels to exist a little on the edges of Heroes of the Storm. And at the same time, I would exercise caution with a hero like Tyrande. I wouldn't want her to become too homogenized. I wouldn't want her to fit in too well. I kind of like the hipster aspect that Tyrande commands right now. And at the same time, I could see her getting shined up a little bit.
She's interesting too in this world of blinds having odd capabilities, because she is still weak to them. And so many of our other heroes have ways to get around that effectively. If nothing else, with Unstoppable Cleanse and Butcher's kind of reign of terror happening right now, and his ability to dodge most unskilled casts of blinds. And even then, if you let him connect, the thing might be dead before you actually accomplish your blind part of it. Tyrande might be weak to that, and that's kind of interesting. I'm curious about the fallout of Tassadar, and if that is going to have a reverberating effect on our reworks. Because look at Tracer. Tracer is HGC designed. We took away the main thing that empowered her outside of Malfurion, and she needs some help. Help in like a, maybe we shouldn't kind of way, like dinosaurs, Jurassic Park. I don't really want to live in a world where Tracer's running wild again.
You're so preoccupied with if you could, you didn't stop to think if you should.
Right, and I want to know what the should answer is there. Like, I don't want us to go and say, well, Zarya is the new Tassadar, all that power to Zarya, because then we're back in the shield meta business. I never really, for health of the game, want to return to Malthael, Genji, Kerrigan being super carries while, they hit their R and we all just try to support them. But it was a very clear environment and made the games tactically fun to execute, though not fun to play, as kind of backwards as that statement might be. But I'd love to see some Cassia business come in. I know she's got that skins for both Cassia and Tracer, so maybe, bundle time.
Possibly. We'll see what happens. But again, I'm pretty stoked about what Milker is saying here. And again, it is in line with things we've heard from devs in the past. When I got to sit down with Kyle and with Daybringer at BlizzCon last year, they were just like, yeah, because I asked them, I was like, hey, what's it going to look like? What is the cadence of updates? It's, cadence is a 4-letter word as far as we're concerned, but what is the cadence of updates going to look like from here on out? And they were like, basically like this year, and this year being 2019 at the time of that interview. And I think so far into 2020, we're already, we're going into our 5th month. I think they more or less have hit the same clip that we got last year. We had more heroes released by this point, right? But that was also still kind of a cascading effect from when the team was larger. But other than that, in terms of balance updates, reworks, and whatnot, obviously the anomalies, which we didn't have last year until the very first one ever, I personally have been very pleased with the frequency of updates in Heroes of the Storm this year.
Definitely. And there was a question in the AMA about how balance timing has changed since last year. And Blizz AZ Jackson got in there and was saying that he basically had a whole bunch of ideas at the start of 2019 that he unleashed on the populace. That is not needed right now.
Yeah, they were talking about that. He also said, from his point of view, these patches have been very large for this year. And then he went on to say that there's not any specific reason that the patches have gotten smaller, outside of the fact that it does take a lot of work to consistently find changes that have a high probability of being good for the game. And then Jackson got more into his philosophy, and I love it when AZ Jackson gets into his philosophy, right? If you haven't listened to our interview with AZ Jackson from a couple months ago, go do it. It is still relevant content. But he said, quote, I've tried to focus on having a decent amount of functionality changes that are a little more exciting and make heroes feel fresh to play. Naturally, if more time and effort are being put into those kind of more complex changes, it takes away from time that could be spent doing a higher volume of simple number changes. And then he went on to say that at the end of the day, it's a balancing act between those two ideals. And again, this is another kind of thing that I'm happy to see. A, I like that they're just sharing this type of philosophy with us, and B, I actually rather like this philosophy. I mean, how do you feel, Kyle? Do you feel that you would want a little more of the just kind of dial twisting number changes, or do you like the trend in 2020 and Heroes of the Storm where we are seeing a little bit more of new identities for some of these heroes that are receiving these changes, whether it's rework or not? That's why I'm not using the word rework, because I think some of the, albeit smaller, changes have actually had pretty big impacts in upsetting how certain heroes play.
I think AZ Jackson's current philosophy is best, where he said he likes to have all the little number changes and they might be boring on the surface, but inside of every single balance patch, there's 1 or 2 scandalous, exciting, YouTube video worthy things in there that we can really maybe shake things up with. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the same boat. I've been really happy with the game in 2020 overall. Onto the subject of forts, it's obviously a really hot topic right now because it's the main thing going on with the anomaly. I would even argue, Kyle, I think the fort changes are a larger effect to the overall game of Heroes of the Storm than the core changes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
It's just it changes the core way that we attack. But on the subject of enemy forts attacking you for dealing damage to enemies that are nowhere near the fort, which is something we have at least mentioned on every episode, I think, since the anomaly hit. Things like an Azmodan globe from another lane, or you left and there's poison damage being done, or a Gazlo turret was left in an off lane. Say it's left mid lane and Gazlo's now top, but that turret now hits someone mid. Gazlo starts getting destroyed top by the towers. That's what we're talking about here. AZ Jackson fielded this question and said, quote, "We had many debates internally about exactly how tower aggro should work. For the release, we landed on a design that emphasized clarity as the most important aspect to guide tower targeting decisions." Went on to say, quote, "Hey, it's a clear rule that says if you hit an enemy hero, towers don't like you." And he went on to say that we initially didn't want to muddy that up with a ton of exceptions. He finished, however, with, "Now that we've gotten a ton of feedback from you guys since the anomaly has released, we have some changes coming that should address a lot of these concerns." I think some type of range exception is about to hit the Nexus.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this answer. And what I'd like to see is direct contact. I think that could be clear enough. If you auto attack someone on Lunara, you're in trouble. If you leave range and they continue to be poisoned, no more trouble. Gazlo turrets in that world would be exempt because it's not Gazlo himself. What I want to avoid is the Tassadar auto attack level 1 talent that just branches out and makes the buildings mad. A Thrall trying to burn through a building as fast as possible using Chain Lightning. The Chain Lightning bounces over to a hero. Now building's mad. If I, though, Thrall, right-click you as the initial target of my Chain Lightning, be mad at me. That is me making a mistake. I think we can have that sort of clarity and just sort of clean up a lot. I'm super duper curious. And last week we sort of explored this thought, and now I'm really feeling it. I want to know what they're going to do about Sky Temple and Towers of Doom. Those are absolute outliers when it comes to the defender's advantage.
Why Sky Temple?
Well, Sky Temple, you want to have a defender's advantage. So they don't interact with your buildings when they're winning because they'll just go stall and take all the towers. So your building upgrade does nothing in that game.
Okay. So because they're almost kind of opposite problems. Or no, I guess they are the same problem. It's like whoever's winning has a weirdly strong advantage given these new rules, right? It's that they're manifesting differently though, because in Sky Temple you're winning with the objective, and therefore it doesn't matter. These new fort rules don't apply to you. It's irrelevant because you don't need to interact with the structures. In Towers of Doom, you're winning by pushing out the lane and destroying the fort, and now that fort is yours, and now you have a defender's advantage on the enemy side of the map, which just feels bad. It's actually to me the person that's my personal public enemy number one with the new anomaly is the absolute worst feeling I have had in Heroes of the Storm all year is losing my fort on Towers of Doom with this new anomaly. It hurts.
Yeah. We're seeing people play into it as well. There is a lot more Sammy play in general right now because illusions are holding aggro. That would be the same in my sort of philosophy that you have to do something purposefully to make these towers mad. If an illusion went off and did something, I guess you wouldn't get aggro, so that would still work. But anyway, what we're seeing on Towers of Doom right now is a huge increase in the number of picks of Hammer and Sylvanas. And Sylvanas was always really solid there, controlled the bottom lane, but Hammer getting in there is just getting gross because her ability to sit under that building that you take and gain a defender's advantage from ahead is rough. But you're right about Sky Temple. I'm not sure how you would encourage people to make the wrong choice. Previously, teams that were ahead would get excited, go into tower range, try to make something happen, take an extra building when the objective was down. Now they're encouraged to just sit back and wait for the next objective because that'll do all the building damage anyway instead of getting in a dangerous situation.
Right.
I don't know how to fix that one.
I'm not too sure either. It's tough. So I guess we'll see. We'll see if something comes up with that. But overall, I'm glad that they're looking at this. And there's, as we just quickly rattled off, and these are just things that we're personally concerned with. There's so many different angles of this to look at. And is there anywhere even in game right now where it tells you what forts do?
No, I believe the tooltips still haven't been updated either. But I mean, when was the last time load screen hit and you're like, hold up, I gotta read this? Like I'm usually thinking about the comp and like what first town I'm gonna take.
Mostly what I'm thinking about right now is just like the way they describe it. Like, you know, if they change it to where like, you know, say that like for the purposes of this example, let's not get into poison and all that kind of stuff. Let's just say like, you know, I was concerned how they're going to word it, but if there's like nowhere in game where you go into like read a description of how Fort Aggro even functions, it doesn't really matter. All it really matters is how they word it in a balance patch, right? So they can really get as granular as they want. And if they want to keep the wording relatively simple, they can then get granular in the dev comment, right?
Yeah.
You could have a line that's as easy as you will no longer incur the call to help targeting if you're not damaging a target that's currently in the lane that you're in. I then go, oh, well, what consists a lane? Because clearly it's some sort of distance. They can go and tell me that later in a dev comment or a blog somewhere. I don't need it spelt out.
It would be interesting in the draft screen to see, Towers of Doom, and then the twing, and the coin pops. What if there was the anomalies, or what are they called in World of Warcraft when you're doing the mythics?
An affix.
Affix.
They're also called that in Diablo 3.
What about affixes there in the draft screen? Sky Temple, 3-lane map, or Alterac Pass, objective pushes 3 lanes, and we take that affix and we put it on Alterac Pass, and we put it on Garden Terror. You
are speaking my interface nerd language, or just graphics. I can see it now. I can see it has to be a hexagon. It's a hexagon icon. The icon relates to the affix in some way, and then a short description.
Yeah, and boss available, and just line them up, make them pretty. I mean, we're both card game players, so you put Death Rattle on something, we're like, ooh, it's so efficient. I didn't need extra words. That was beautiful. Thank you, team.
Yes, absolutely. No, I like that idea a lot. We'll probably talk a little bit more about forts later on. Let's continue on to the current state of CC, because CC was brought up and all of the different types of CC, and is it too much? And basically the answer was no, they don't think it's too much, because all the forms of CC that are currently in the game have basically been there since the beginning. And in the team's opinion, it's worked for this long. It worked then, it still works now. And then they also, brought up, hey, we've also added significantly more ways to negate CC in this game, which I agree with.
Yeah, I think actually our CC and damage numbers are really, really solid right now. If I, as we call it on stream, don't get to play the video game because we've been turbo locked down, it feels like a draft mistake. And as frustrating as that can be, I don't feel like I'm dying too fast. I can receive a number of hits that mean I get to react. Using game knowledge, we can pre-react and plan. I'm fine. I don't think that we need any sort of global support Apocalypse style change to damage or CC numbers.
No. And this question did bring up damage. They were curious if damage needed to be brought down across the board. And AZ Jackson said, I don't believe it needs to be nerfed across the board. Time to kill hasn't gotten out of control in a general sense, though burst management on an individual hero basis is something that we keep an eye on. So,
is there any heroes you can think of where you don't get a reaction and it deals too much damage?
You don't get a reaction and deals too much damage? Like you're talking about a hero combo?
Yeah, well, no, let's say I don't like Living Meteor's damage. It hurts a lot. But I'm also running the wrong direction, and I already messed up by doing so. So that's on me when I die to Living Meteor from Ragnaros.
Right, there's counterplay there, yes?
Yeah.
Why are you moving predictably? Why aren't you adjusting your path once you see that come down?
Exactly. I can't think of a hero, maybe
Kerrigan.
Maybe late game Mephisto, but
late game Mephisto, yes, is to me the one that has left me scarred and wakes me up at night thinking about. Yeah, but the other big one for me is probably Kerrigan, which is its own. There's actually a question later on about melee assassins that we can flow into after this. It talks about kind of the very unique role that they fulfill and how they're relatively challenging to kind of balance around and also draft around. But yeah, Kerrigan is one. It's like these combo heroes, right? But a lot of times, if we're being honest with ourselves, Kyle, if we're doing a hard truth, something I hate doing, I love to just say, this is everyone else's fault. This is broken. I can't. A lot of times, if you're dying to something, say it's a Kerrigan combo, you're probably down a level or two. Right?
Yeah.
Like, if it's really happening and it's truly feeling oppressive, it felt like there was nothing you could do, and you are getting 100 to 0'd, it's most likely the result of a level disparity, which is then its own calls into question all sorts of things that have already happened over the course of the game. On top of the fact that in I bring up Kerrigan as an example because if you get caught by the Kerrigan combo, there's really not a whole lot you can do unless you're like a hero with like Vala that has a vault that has a very instant, sudden shift in positioning, right? But at a base level, why were you standing where you were standing in the first place for the Kerrigan to even jump on you? Now, it's not always, that one I think is the most difficult, one of the more difficult ones to defend, but still.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, we could go deeper there and say that there is maybe a base problem. If you were to hit the perfect cleanse, the damage was still delivered. Kerrigan gets shields, and you can't turn around on her. But Kerrigan's got a bit of a high win rate right now. I'm not that concerned about her. If I was to point out an issue that I see, particularly in Platinum, it would be Hanzo Li Ming on the same team. And there is a seemingly high chance that the team versus that will pick Ariel for some reason. And that's a loss. That's a draft loss. As much as I want to avoid those situations, that's one of our real extremes in the game right now, where that amount of poke won't let you play your game on Ariel. You will not get hope. You will be zoned out.
I think that is okay, though, because this is a drafting game. There
Right.
should be the existence of some sort of rock, paper, scissors.
Exactly.
I don't think every game should come down to that, but some games should. So, yeah, I think this is all okay. I don't really think that current burst damage numbers or even the amount of CC is a problem, but it's an interesting alley to take a stroll down nonetheless. As long as Kerrigan isn't in that alley.
Reworks, man. Li Ming would be a fascinating rework right now.
But again, she has a home.
She has a very big home, and she has a lot of people that love her. It would be, murky levels of outrage if we were to change her. But Triumvirate is a problem in terms of like what we need to do with it. The readability of the ability is difficult.
What the hell happened, man? A month ago, we were like, can we let Li Ming's clear of lanes with Calamity? Can we just do that? And now here we are with Triumvirate is too much. Something needs to be done about that. What happened? She wasn't really messed with.
Yeah, it's just, I think really the Hanzo Li Ming or the Lunar Li Ming thing really took off, and that amount of poke damage is so high, and getting to the back line, that backline has so much damage in it that you have to do it with a Zeratul or a Samura. You can't do a dive character back there anymore. You can do it with Yrel, but I'm just naming heroes that take a lot of work and practice, and not everybody has on their roster.
Just to learn Sonya, what are you doing?
I'm curious if we could fix we spent more time on this than I mean to make it a big deal, but I'm curious if there is a world where we could do a triumphant Dingerino, and she like glows or something, and everybody kind of gets the gist that, we're on cooldown reduction here. We learned it with Kel'Thuzad. I feel like in general, we all know Kel'Thuzad with the chain, get him.
I realized the tower anomaly. Like, I get that. But was that enough? Is that really enough to skyrocket Li Ming to where she is? I guess so. Is she just using her own teammates as bait on where to put her spells?
I mean, don't discount feeling comfy out there and feeling like it wasn't my fault. I won. I for the first time since I feel like 2018, am seeing Li Ming's run straight into the middle lane and then orb missile a building. Like, ignore the team fight, and they just go straight to sieging. And it's a fascinating style, and it gets stuff done, and they even had to tune in the text of the abilities to make sure she couldn't be as effective as she was at that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's all fair, man. Like, the taking tower damage is a shot call right now. Right. And so, like, if I'm a Li Ming and I see that minus armor pop up, guess where I'm aiming my orb?
Sure.
It's interesting. Or hell, it works both ways, right? Say you're attacking on Li Ming and you see that negative armor come up on your tank. It's just like, oh, I wonder where their front lines is gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, it's effective. It is effective. So Real quick, I do want to check in on those melee assassin comments that I kind of teased at. Thoughts on melee assassins was brought up. The question basically was kind of talking about how, listen, melee assassins, they either outlive everyone and kill them, or they die in seconds. This question focuses on the volatility of melee assassins and their current role in Heroes of the Storm. And AZ Jacksonfield is one saying, quote, to make a team composition feel right, and he's talking generally here, the melee assassin has to fit into one of the ranged assassin slots or replace the off-lane bruiser slot. And then I'm summarizing here, but went on to say that melee assassins are performing very well in regards to how often they win games, so I don't think there's a problem with how effective they are there. But there are definitely some heroes in this category that can use work to be less spiky less often. Where do you fall on melee assassins, Kyle?
Yeah, the distinction is getting kind of muddy right now. And I don't mean that in a design sort of way. I think that we have divided our heroes into nice little piles, but our bruiser melee assassin is a bit random because Zool is not a melee assassin.
No, he's definitely a bruiser. It's without a doubt a bruiser.
Right, but we say with talents he can become like bruiser healing levels. But you've got Kieran, you've got Kerrigan, you've got Alarak who self-heals. I feel like melee assassins shouldn't have self-heals. Like we the strong distinction, like Greymane doesn't get a self-heal ever. And that feels healthy.
Does a shield count? Because Kerrigan's definitely a melee assassin and definitely not a bruiser.
That's true, but that shield can be huge, astronomical.
Yes, it can, and she would not work without it. So that's why I don't think self-healing or self-damage mitigation is a hard line between the two. I think it's damage output. Because yeah, Zul's damage numbers, he's no slouch, but he's not doing Kerrigan numbers. He's not doing like what Alarak's putting out or someone like that, right?
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's just an interesting pile. And I feel like Maiev is just beautiful in this category.
The melee assassins, like I think we're getting into a bit of a debate of semantics, because I look at bruisers and melee assassins as similar, and what I look at the difference between them is almost how I looked at the difference between mages or burst damage versus sustained damage. I think bruiser is more of a sustained damage because they're going to they have a much higher likelihood of surviving the initial onslaught of whatever that team fight just threw at you, and they're going to continue chipping away consistently at whatever it is their target is. Whereas a melee assassin is doing their damnedest to blow something up. Although then that is where I guess Illidan becomes murky, right? Because he has the kind of sustain of what I'm describing as a bruiser.
Exactly. Our categories are extremely broad. I think they work because we're in a category system. I will always want a tag system over that. Label them with CC, label them sustain, label them burst. But this is a really interesting. The whole role system is really interesting to me right now because of Rexxar. We are working way too hard to counter draft good bruisers to stop Rexxar. When really, I would love to live in a world where the enemy team picks Rexxar and Zul'jin goes, I got it. And everyone's like, oh, nice job, Zul'jin. That's sweet. Good job. You have fun up there. Or Raynor, or even Vala, right? Like Illidan, but we have this perspective that Rexxar is bringing meat, so we have to counter it with meat of the same label. And we need to battle the beef and the chicken. It's not beef on beef action.
We have to battle McDonald's with Chick-fil-A? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, like, there are many cuts of beef, but, name them whatever you want. It's all beef. Like, we need to battle Rexxar in a very, very different way. And there are way easier ways to go about that counter drafting. We just get stuck on these roles a little bit.
I would like to move away from this conversation before we incur more wrath on Rexxar.
I mean, it's an interesting thought experiment for me, and I'd like to know how we could make that easier. I think we're working too hard to counter draft some solo lane bruisers who would honestly be completely handled by other roles.
I don't know. I'm a Rexar player, and also someone, Bachelor tweeted at me today and was like, "Hey, what are some Rexar counters?" So it's very fresh in my mind. I'm like, oh, there's things I hate seeing across the lane from me on Rexar. A, very good chance. B, and I haven't seen this in a while, but die alone Malthiels, man, they're kind of tough. Or no, he was asking for Sonya. Die alone would be somewhat problematic if you're not careful about what you're marking, but you are Malthiel and you should be able to control that.
And I've heard it like farming last rites on the bear in the early game, so you have really short cooldowns in the late game. Like there are some cool bruiser counters, but we're playing chess when we could be playing like Space Ultra Rainbow Checkers and just taking the Zul'jin that you played 1,000 times into Rexar, not having to learn anything new. That's what I'm about right now.
You could. I mean, if you kill Misha, it's very hard for Rexar to get a lot done.
Yeah.
Especially right now. More so now than ever, because Misha, I think, is the reason that Rexar is working very well. It's always the reason he's been working very well, but the reason that Rexar works very well into this new tower anomaly we find ourselves in is because Rexar himself is never really in danger of getting smacked by towers.
Well, let's take a step away from Rexar then as the example here. What about main tank Maiev right now? Because that is a thing. That is 100% a thing. And she brings a good amount of CC and a big shot call with her Warden's Cage to have a big old team fight. I mean, you think you have to wait till 10 for Johanna to tank? Let's just wait for Maiev to tank. And Maiev might even get better picks with Umbral Bind than Johanna's going to get for the entire early game.
Yeah, but again, like, and this is kind of why, again, it's an interesting conversation to have, and I definitely want to sit here and go through the thought experiment of melee assassins. Where do they fit? Is there a line? Can we clean it up? Can we actually strictly define these heroes? But at the end of this, and this is my answer to being able to tank on Maiev, is my true answer is, do we want to? Because I find that more interesting. When things flex out of their predetermined role. Roles are, they should be helpful. I don't think they should be a carved in stone law that we cannot move from.
Definitely. I guess in short, it's, I guess what I'm saying through all this is it's very weird to ask about the state of melee assassins because they're so different.
Yeah. And I kind of like it. And I really feel that's the vibe I get from AZ Jackson is that like overall, they think it's working all right.
Yeah.
And so that relieves me. It's not that I don't want change. It's that I don't want to fight flexibility or uniqueness.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I land.
We get in a world where like they don't put, campability tags on Zeratul and everyone gets mad that Zeratul's doing camps. Like no system's perfect.
Yeah. Haunted Mines got brought up, Kyle. When's it coming back? Is it coming back? Daybringer got in here and said, quote, we have some initial blue sky ideas on things we could do to improve the gameplay of the Battleground. Again, we're talking about Haunted Mines here. But that is about as far as we have currently gotten. I'm going to stop there for a second. That legitimately surprises me.
That they're not thinking about it?
Yeah. That they're not further along. Or really along. It sounds like they're just not along. It sounds like no work has really happened on Haunted Mines.
I bet the conversation at the boardroom or in the Zoom meeting now went something along the lines of, let's reuse our assets. What a great opportunity that is. Reworks. Yeah. Events. Yeah. But maps are just not happening right now. They're simply not on the table. And whether it's because of team move around, losing that one key figure that now we have to train up someone else, let's not allocate those resources. It's weird that we aren't doing anything with maps. It's a thrilling aspect of the game. I love new maps. I think reworking Haunted Mines would be really cool. And it's weird. It is weird. Because it seems like in our heads, you did Guard of Terror. Yes, it's the most downvoted thing on YouTube outside of... Actually, I don't know. I don't... But, there were a lot of downvotes. I did a Guard of Terror strategy recently for Heroes Hearth, and I went and pulled footage from that old YouTube, and it's still just completely downloaded. It's insane. But there's so many applications we could just say, however many skulls, they battle out in the middle and they spawn in both lanes. Why not? It feels like we could instantly fix some of the small problems in thought. I feel bad about my word instant. I'm sorry, dev team. In our brains, we could apply lessons from other maps to fix Haunted Mines quicker in philosophy.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have stopped there then, because we are getting into like an assumption, because like Daybringer followed this up with, there are a lot of bugs, many of them super edge cases, with the way the mines work that are very difficult to tackle and would require a major amount of resources to resolve. So it does seem that Haunted Mines is a bit of an outlier in terms of just how much work it would take to get this bug-free, or at least as bug-free as we are used to from the standard that Heroes of the Storm kind of sets. And as disappointing as I think that it can be to hear, because I have been getting nostalgic for Haunted Mines. Again, I kind of respect the candor here, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's got to be a little crazy. I mean, the mines have always been a little problematic, and I don't think you can remove the mines. Like, it's literally in the damn title of the battleground.
Oh, that'd be a fascinating way to go about it.
I disagree. I think it would be a disappointing way.
Yeah, no, I use fascinating in a thought-provoking way, not so much in a enjoyable sort of way.
I don't listen, I love the Sith as much as the next person. I don't like to deal in absolutes, but I don't think you could have Haunted Mines without the mines.
Yeah, that's what made it so special.
If it was just battle skulls, man, you can't. No, there's nothing interesting in that.
Right, the camps drop skulls. Now we're like Blackheart's Bay. It was weird. Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
And I think it would be interesting now, frankly, with the way that the towers work. Do we split push? Is that what we do? It'd be kind of cool, but it looks like we'll be waiting a lot longer.
I think it's safe to say that this is one of those situations where we need to apply pressure as a community, and I mean that in the most positive way. They are clearly trying to decide what next year looks like for them, what that internal roadmap is going to detail. If we want Haunted Mines, I think we can get Haunted Mines on that list, but we got to make a decision as a community.
Yeah, and to me, I look at something like Heroes of the Storm, and I cannot help but leave the vacuum for a moment, because this is a game that has clearly similar competitors, and it was far from the first in the genre, right? Like, I can look at League of Legends, I can look at something like Dota and go, well, they have one map. They have one map. We have a ton. So to me, my gut reaction is Battlegrounds are pretty low on what I am like dying for.
Sure.
In terms of additions or improvements to the game. We already have so much more in terms of the maps, a variety through maps, than any other MOBA on the market, that to me, the lifeblood of a MOBA is actually shared even in Heroes of the Storm with Dota, with League of Legends, which is balancing heroes, adding heroes, reworking heroes.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why we were all clamoring for new ranged assassins when it was just Vala Greymane out there making it happen game after game. This is why people want a new tank, because our early picks, Johanna, ETC, Garrosh, we want more. We want more variety in a overall impact across all maps.
And before we move away from this, one more thing I want to mention is that there are also other battlegrounds that are considered too problematic for Storm League, right? There's other battlegrounds besides Haunted Mines that we are not putting in the Storm League rotation. And while hasn't explicitly been stated that, they're just too silly for Storm League, it sure feels like they have that moniker. And I am talking about Blackheart's Bay, and I'm talking about Warhead Junction.
Yeah. Garden of Terror is actually working out pretty well. I think it's in a good place.
How would you? I like Garden of Terror. I've come full circle. I think it's a good battleground now. I really dig it. Although it still feels a little snowball. If you don't get the first objective, you've got you got a lot of work on your hands. But, yeah, I don't know. I was almost going to ask you what you think of Warhead Junction, but honestly, we should probably save that chat for another day because we're almost an hour deep already, and we still got stuff to get through. Probably. D. Warner gave us a bit of a retrospective on just how much work went into the Tacit Art rework. It looks like it took quite some time. Although they did say that they had basically been talking about moving him into an assassin role for literally years. So that was not an 11th hour decision, and also said that very early on they realized that they just could not keep Dimensional Shift and find ways to up his power in his kit without it just being ridiculous or having to make some really, really big concessions in other portions of the kit, which makes sense to me. Could you imagine Tacit Art with his current damage output and being able to just nope out of whatever he wanted?
Yeah, it is a problem in all minds, and I think that Tacit Art is in a much less frustrating space. Dimensional Shift and Force Wall, too much together. They made the right choice. I would rather be on a Force Wall than see Tacit Art get away that easy.
Yeah. I know his win rate is not looking amazing, but I do have to say, I think you need to give a bit of a hat tip to the team that Force Wall is on the base kit and we're not all screeching about how much we hate it.
Yeah.
That is an accomplishment.
It's a feat, yeah.
And I think might be a place they might look to increase some power. Maybe you get a little more range on there. Maybe take the cooldown down a bit. But that's the kind of thing where, like, that is a scary ability. If Force Wall becomes too powerful, it's gonna feel bad. But went on to talk about just like how much time they spent. They said that they spent a good amount of time, about 4 to 5 months in D. Warner's memory, trying different things until the base kit resembled what it is now. And then talents took a few more months after that. So a lot of time was we're in year-ish territory on this Tacit Art rework. That's impressive.
To them, it is a new hero, and it warrants the breadth around it to let us enjoy that. Though I'm very curious about all this coming soon, and lots of nods that new hero is coming throughout this AMA.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't talk at all about its performance here. That's what I was looking for.
I think next week is the 3 weeks, though, so we're right on the edge of it, and I expect it to be Zool levels. It's going to be numbers, very basic health kind of things. We've talked about the snappiness, Force Wall snappiness, being able to break your own animation on Shock Ray. I think first we lead with just plain old numbers.
Whatever it is, I'm just excited to see it. It was also asked if we can expect more features in the future. You know, pretty vague there. Daybringer said that they would love to bring new features to the game, and they're always working on and prioritizing the next ones. And he also went on to say that individual features release is normally just the beginning, as they often have improvements or quality of life changes already planned, and adding more from player feedback. Quote, these, of course, get put into the chute against all of the other features we are wanting to work on. It's a never-ending cycle that is honestly one of the more difficult parts of actively developing a live game. And this ties, I think, pretty nicely into what we opened up with, which was the talk about a roadmap.
Totally. And there are things they've said in the past that we can still hold against them, like hero progression upgrade. Like, I still hope that's in the pile, but good on you guys for being vague. I can already see some things that I would love to change about the talent build section themselves. I'd love to name them, for one. That'd just be enjoyable.
I just want clans. I will die on this hill.
All right.
Just want clans. Anyways, some rapid fire stuff. We're not going to do direct quotes here, but they are actively discussing cross promotions. Lots of differing opinions, however, on how to do them and when to do them. So
fair.
Not dead in the water. Apparently they have tried several iterations of showing Living Bomb radius internally, but all were super noisy, added too much ground clutter. However, they said they're going to keep trying. That surprised me.
I can see it though.
Yeah.
Like we've joked about nobody needs to see the inner ridicule of a Brightwing spit. imagine 3 of those on 3 different heroes at the same
it's
time.
more. I think the Brightwing's fit is more or less like self-evident. It's like you know, because it's so close to the center of where the actual graphic lands. You know if you've screwed up. You know if you gave that Brightwing a free heal. You know, but Living Bomb, that's kind of its own thing. I almost like want them to maybe look at a different angle because maybe the radius isn't as important as knowing when the hell it's actually going to explode, or just like making it a little more visually clear about who the Living Bomb target is on. Because, dude, ever since they added that elemental thrall skin, it's little problematic to really know who's got the Living Bomb on them. I think it's still an oddly subtle fire animation.
Sure, there are skins banned in tournament play for these reasons. I can think of like with a bat form Arthas. Like there's some weird ones in there that are just out because of the silhouettes as they move across the battlefield.
Oh, bat form Arthas totally looks like Mal'Ganis, man.
That's interesting.
It has tricked me many times. I've been like, wait, what do you mean we're not fighting against a Mal'Ganis? Where does Arthas come from?
I mean, they did just confirm that they upgraded the floor circle for Flame Strike. So I think that's the result of them messing with Kael'thas and going, we can at least do this now. We don't know how to answer this other question. And I agree. Like there's an interesting world where, much like Dirds of Hate, we have a circle and the circle is the timer and the circle goes whoa, 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 and fills up and then bomb goes off and that radius. And that would be very, very helpful. Would it be helpful to the right people? That's an interesting thought. Would it be detrimental to the right people in that sense? Like the people who need that circle would be the people overwhelmed by the graphic, and therefore it would do a greater disservice.
Right. I mean, I would almost back away from that because I would consider myself someone who is extremely astute to spreading for Living Bomb, and yet you still get caught. We all get caught by a Living Bomb spread every once in a while. Like it's going to happen. So if there was some sort of very obvious warning that says Living Bomb on someone, this is how far away you need to stand, that would be helpful. That would still be helpful to me. And this is not just my Rexar playing bias showing as someone who's not always paying the most attention to where my Misha is. But at the same time, there should be an importance placed on clarity of a team fight, and too many ground effects causes issues. And hell, maybe Kael'thas could even find a way to game that system. If you have suddenly a radius effect that's kind of fiery for Living Bomb, what happens when you place your Flame Strike very close to that effect? Can you even see it? Can you see it? Can you tell that the Flame Strike is also there? There's all sorts of considerations.
Murkies stand on top of their pufferfish, so we can't target it effectively. You could absolutely game that system. There's also a world where we don't say, no double mage, and everyone gets tilted because we have double mage burst, and they're going to counter our burst. It's because Orphea plus Kael'thas add so much noise to the battlefield, nobody wants to play with 2 mages at the same time.
Yeah. Yep. Through a hail of yeses, there were so many blues that responded to this with yes. It has been confirmed that new tanks are indeed in development.
Cool.
That's it. That's all we got. When they're coming, who knows? New tanks 2022.
It's an interesting field to be in for sure. The Tankerinos.
Yeah. I think they can still shore them up even outside of new tanks. I believe in the power reworks. According to AZ Jackson, the amount of heroes in development are, quote, more than 1, less than 42. Don't panic, Kyle.
All right. Informative.
Yes. Planning for 2021 has already started. Things that are on the table are Ragnaros skins, which is very exciting. He's a definite dearth of Ragnaros skins. And an Arthas remodel as a new skin.
Well, we wouldn't want people getting upset that they like the old pre-remodel, so we do it as a skin.
I still want a remodeled base Brightwing.
The community spoke, man.
Community's
They
wrong.
didn't want buff Brightwing.
They're wrong.
They're all pretending to be crazy murderers and eating eyeballs, but give her muscles and we all lose our minds.
They're wrong. That skin was beautiful.
I agree.
I agree. It's beautiful. There's plans for a Tracer talent update. You know, you already talked about Tracer today. So there you go, Kyle. Gonna get a talent update on Tracer. They are likely to update Gazlo's turrets.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to do something with scrap, they made it sound like.
Yeah. More banners are also being discussed.
Cool.
I like banners, especially like particularly different looking banners. Like I basically still use the Nex Ramus one on all of my tunes. It is such a rad looking banner.
It really showcased what the banners could be, and there hasn't been anything quite to that level yet. Diablo alone is just it makes me sad to look at these banners, but I gotta assume there's some sort of limitation, something going on in here with these banners. I'm excited for new ones.
I have to imagine just not top of the priority pile.
Yeah, well, and like when it comes to visibility, let me go hook up all my supporters with banners here that aren't Rexar, and I'll get to see them. Never. Ultimately, it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah. And then apparently Towers of Doom was originally a Wrathy Basin.
Which makes sense because they have named all the bell towers.
Yeah. Oh, this was in reply to the Ungoro Battleground concept. That concept's really rad if you haven't looked at it.
It is cool. And I just want a dinosaur event. Like we've done robots. Next on list is dinosaurs. Love dinosaurs.
Right, we haven't done dinosaurs. Oh,
they're so cool.
Can we get King Crush as a hero?
Oh, dude.
Can we get King Crush, Kyle? I want more mobs as playable heroes. I want more mobs.
How about a Deathwing skin that is King Crush and he just jumps into the air for a really long time?
Ooh. I'm into it.
It's like shooting boogers down, with Skyfall.
I'd be in some sort of like four-legged Devilsaur with wings.
Oh, man. Yeah, breath weapons, just sound waves, going.
I mean, now that we have Deathwing, can we just do more aspects? Like, give me a Nosdormu skin where, like, he breathes sand instead of fire.
I mean, Deathwing is certainly ripe for reskinning as other dragons. When I think it was Kinabrew said that he was working on other Deathwing skins we would want to own, I thought Ysera was my first thought. I mean, this blue Awakened Dark Nexus Deathwing is damn cool. It's very Final Fantasy, and I really like it. I can't decide between that one and the gold one. He was right that I want to be wearing these skins, but yes, the aspect pack, lay it on us.
Dude, I had my first lucky chest opening in a very long time. I cracked the Dark Nexus Tassadar just naturally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was stoked.
Crystal Man.
He looks so cool. Looks so freaking cool. And then some bugs were called out, and these are the known bugs that were confirmed to be known. Garrosh being able to throw allied turrets. Brightwing Soothing Mist Healing works from inside vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrande Zaloon's Chosen is healing Leoric.
Dead Leoric, yeah.
Yeah, dead Leoric, and Hanamura Samurai Slash is bigger than the hitbox that is shown.
Which is a dangerous one. You should always be running through the Samurai because that thing
hurts.
Yeah, it's got a little bit extra oomph on it.
Can we make the big dude at Sky Temple hit as hard as a Samurai?
You talking about the boss?
Yeah, no, not the boss. Like the big, when you do the objective, the biggest minion, the first minion that spawns, like the Temple Guard. Because that cone attack is just negligible.
No, in fact, there's quite a few times where he saved me, or I purposely they're coming in, hit me out, friend. And
no, yeah. I always try to angle him towards my side of the map when I'm soloing the objective in case someone shows up. I'll ride his knockback effect to safety.
That would be really interesting. It would bring about some double tank or even double support. That's really, really fascinating. Man, that would not fix my issue with turtling on Sky Temple, though, because then you draft no siege at all, and you would just out heal, stand on those pads. Gross.
Yeah. But yeah, and then Kyle, there were a few questions about Smurfs in there. What happened with those?
Well, none of them went answered, which is interesting.
It's a little scandalous.
It is. It is certainly I think per number, probably the most asked questions were about Smurfs. And the social aspect of this is taking some turns. It's a difficult thing. I'm receiving a lot of pressure from playing with the Heroes Hearth folks who are in gold and platinum, as though I'm boosting myself by signing up for harder games. Or people are talking when I party with you and you're in plat 5 while we were playing together, which put us in the most maddening place in the world, which is high plat.
Go to youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson to see one of the most insane games we've ever had.
Yeah, man. It's there under the title of Wild Temples. You can also watch The Journey on Braxis. And both those videos are just showcasing the strangest people on the planet. I am not gaining any sort of advantage by playing with lower league people, even to the fact that there is a protection system in the game where we had Mockery on a Smurf, and his Smurf was silver. I don't know how he got it there, but he was too far away from me in high diamond. So the matchmaker ignored his silver Smurf and gave us way harder games as though he counted as a diamond. There are systems that are protecting people from gaming this system. I think they're more afraid of the solo Smurfs, really, when you get down to it, more of the fan sort of style, or the people who are in their gold league games saying, well, I'm Grandmaster and you're all trash. Like those are probably where we started this thought process, but it is leaking to all other aspects and making people very toxic about playing with friends in general, which is a very strange place to put this community.
Well, there's always been a subsection of the community that wants to return to solo queue.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's a subsection within a subsection that's just not happy with Storm League's rules in general.
That's an interesting thought, that basically, the waving of the solo queue banner, not banner as in like getting rid of heroes, like, whoa, with the flag, is being championed by the Smurf cause in this case. Like, whoa, we want solo queue. It'll fix Smurfing in the first place. So we have combined these two thoughts into one. And that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And yet we had solo queue. The queues were insane. We've been there before.
Right. We always have to bring up again, though, that they did apply pick out of order in Team League, and we all preferred it massively. So we left Hero League behind. So we changed those numbers because a system was implemented that we all wanted in the first place. I think we can go back. I think we are ready for a world where we pick out of order in a solo queue only environment. I don't know where that puts the game. I like playing with just you. I like playing with 3, 4. The games are way easier when I play with just 1 or 2 people. When I do a full 5 stack, we're fighting practice 5 stacks. Unranked is particularly dangerous for 5 stacks because that's where people practice their stuff. And we got destroyed we had a good time.
I'm also coming to the theory that there's not a lot of 5 stacks out there that have the stones to take their 5 stack into Storm League.
Sure, that might be the case.
Do care about their rank, that they do experience ladder anxiety, and so they take it into one rank. We got mopped up in our patron games last week, which has happened to us before. It's been a while though. I don't know what was in the water last Thursday.
It was hardcore. What was in the water? I believe we had to do the old whisper trick to get away from one team in particular that was just owning our 5 stack buns. I think we can bring back solo queue. We just have to decide what we're going to do with unranked and therefore team play.
I do not share your optimism.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The cultures are so wildly different, and what's powerful in different stacks of people changes dramatically. And that's why I feel like it's always healthy to have solo queue. Maybe not the correct thing to do. I mean, should we be comboing ults and hitting R correctly? Probably. But I don't know if they're going to hit their button in solo queue, so I play defensively. And that's a very real tanking style. Learning to rip it on Johanna was a learned skill because otherwise I was peeling the whole time. I was enjoying a more World of Warcraft style tanking.
I'm not disagreeing with any of this. I'm disagreeing with thinking we have a realistically large enough population.
I would counter your population thought with passion. There is a lot of very passionate solo league players who, regardless of system, are playing in a solo environment. The majority of my streams every week are solo, and I see solos on both sides nearly every game. It is rare to see stacks, in fact. I think we got the population. I think we have the passion for it.
Are we trying to fix smurfing with it? Because what's to stop you from going, I'm an MMR hell, and just starting a smurf?
There's nothing. You write that. We'll get your phone number. I'll buy a fake phone. I'll use a fake number. I'll use my friend's phone. There's no.
You can get a Google phone number. You can get a Google phone number. You attach it to Skype. It's $2 to get texts on Skype.
I mean, just look at League of Legends right now. Like, everybody's doing their quarantine gaming, and League of Legends is having a horrible smurf problem. Just awful. Give yourself a little read over there just for some perspective. Dota's been battling smurfs for a long time, and no matter how strong they come on, no matter how many phone numbers and emails and things that they do to block you from wanting to make new accounts, it continues to happen. We can't fix that issue.
Can I get real for you for a second?
Sure. Yeah, bring it on.
All right, I'm gonna little bit of real talk time. I am exhausted, and I just have no more shits left to give about the conversation about the problem with grandmasters and their queue times.
Okay,
I'm done. I realize that it affects some players, but you are such a small portion of the player base. I am just exhausted by this never-ending conversation. There's not enough of you.
Is it like a worldwide report? Caviar is no longer available.
Yes, I am sorry that there's not enough racetracks for your Ferrari. And yet it's still an issue. There's still a subsection of the community that care very passionately about it. It is an issue that affects the most popular streamers, which is then by osmosis, because of the viewers, affects a large subsection of the community and makes them aware of the issue, an issue that they care about, whether or not it's an issue that actually affects them or not. And going into a solo queue environment is just going to exacerbate this issue.
How so?
I in Plat am not going to have the same queue time issues. Do you remember what Masters and Grandmaster queue times were like?
Yeah. No, I feel, and they're like, game-wise, they're doing a lot better. I don't see Masters unless I'm above Diving 2. And we did not have to fight Masters or Grandmasters when you and I were together, which was awesome, because that was an issue in previous seasons.
Right. So I don't know. It's just like, we're going to just move from one complaint of the 1% to a new complaint of the 1%. We're going to move back from quality of match to how long they're sitting in queue.
Right.
Luckily, you now have Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is about the perfect amount of time for how long GMs were waiting in queue before Storm League.
And we've now entered the circle, right? And chat's pointing out as well that GMs do not smurf because of queue times. 99% of the times because they want to play with friends. And that's fair. We can't limit people playing with friends. That's silly. So that's the energy I'm receiving, right? Like it's a weird. We don't know what to do as a community.
Well, are we starting to move back towards like really old school Hero League where you could duo? Is that a world? Is that a happy medium? Do we come to some sort of bizarre compromise?
But then the people I only ever play with 2 friends get all uppity and make posts and get angry.
It's almost like you can't make anyone happy. So why are we discounting any idea because it makes someone angry? Any idea is going to make some group of the community angry.
That's true. It's true.
Where do you draw the line?
You draw the line by sadly ending this conversation.
Yeah. And in Jabber now, we're aware you had duo in duo last season in Grandmasters. We're aware of that. So, anyways, interesting nonetheless. That's going to be it for our highlights of the AMA. You can go read it in full over in the official Heroes of the Storm subreddit. I mean, this is basically a full-on episode already, but let's do a 2-week check-in on the Tassadar patch before we wrap this up. Kyle, how are things looking out there in the old Nexus meta?
45% for Tassadar is about the win rate we're seeing, and that's not bottom of the barrel, but it's certainly low, and upgrades are coming. In particular, this is an issue because when we look at his most wittiest builds, they're not breaking the 55 or 50% point either. Normally, you get a hero with like 50%, you look at their best build, 60% win rate because of information and all that. But top build right now is Storm, Force Wall, and Black Hole at 48%. Archon Shockrays below that at 47%. So not a big divide. And we can expect, this is all leagues as well, we can expect that Archon performs better in higher leagues where people are dodging the Black Hole, and in mid and low leagues where people are setting up their Black Holes correctly using a Force Wall build with the Storm damage behind it, they are succeeding about 50% as well.
Gotcha. I had a particularly beautiful game alongside a Tassadar played by our good buddy Deribo this week. One game, obviously, supremely anecdotal, but we had a player that was tying into the melee assassin conversation we were having, was very passionate about doing a Kerrigan pick, but that player did not want to pick Kerrigan unless it was the last pick because they didn't want to get countered, which I love. Dude, you want to make me love you in a draft. Type something like that in there. Like, I want this hero. I know it can be countered. I'd like to pick it last. Yes, I'll do whatever I can to empower your pick in that instance. And it just went swimmingly because the Kerrigan Kerrigan took all of the attention away from Tassadar. It became this like magician's assistant. Like, look over here while the actual shitstorm rains down upon you, literally. And it worked so well. And then I was like, oh, is this it? Is it melee assassins? You need to pair melee assassins with Tassadar so that they take all of the attention and Tassadar's DPS just connects. So I went over to Hot Slogs and I looked at duos, Kyle. I don't know if you know you can do this. I know you know, but folks at home, you can click on a hero. There's a little duos tab, and it'll show you win rates for the hero you're currently looking at paired with every other hero in the game. And it does look like there is a correlation between melee assassin and Tassadar. However, not Kerrigan. Kerrigan actually has a miserable win rate when paired with Tassadar at the moment over on Hot Slogs.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Malthael
anecdotal.
and Thrall and Butcher are some of the best heroes that you can pair with Tassadar at the moment.
Well, and he's winning along things that are strong right now, like the Butcher, Zul, Samuro, Rhaegar. In fact, Rhaegar is looking like he's doing best along double supports, which is perfectly understandable, camps and all that. And he's doing a lot of bloodlust, which we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, we'll probably have a full-fledged strategy segment dedicated to the Rise of Bloodlust next week. We were considering doing it today, but we had a feeling that the AMA would go a little too long.
Tassadar's also weak against the things that are currently doing well, like Zul, Deathwing, Samuro, Kel'Thuzad, Falstad, but he's also weak to things like Illidan, anything that comes from multiple angles, some stealth heroes like that Samuro, as well as Nova, and he's weak to ETC, Johanna, Mal'Ganis. So top tier tanks. He's just released during a time that isn't his particular time. I agree that his damage output is incredible. When you win with him, you are outranging people. You are destroying them. The public perception is that he is OP. Everything just has to go right, which is such a danger. I'm expecting health buffs for him. By the way, maps for him, Cursed Hollow is actually on the very top at a flat 50%, almost 51%. Then we go down from there. Alterac Pass is next up.
I was about to say, I bet Alterac Pass is next. I'm not looking at it. That's great. I mean, he's going to be great at interrupting objectives.
Yeah, Storm lasts a long time. The directions of that battle can be predictable in many ways, depending on if you're top or bottom. I was really curious about Cursed Hollow because that probably has the most angles of approach with such wide junglery for enemies to flank you with on Tassadar, and that's at 44%. His lowest is, in fact, Towers of Doom, which makes sense because we're often divided, having smaller fights. Brax's holdout is at 43. And that's for anyone out there thinking, well, no, I'll just stack in the solo lane. That's not exactly working out either. Tassadar's objective clear, perhaps with Storm. Tassadar's ability to interrupt an objective is keeping him higher than doing any sort of stackery.
Fair. Well, we'll find out, and I bet you we're going to find out alongside a balance patch, right?
I expect so.
So, well, we'll find out in a week's time. If not, we have plenty to still dive into next week if need be. So, I think this is as good a place as ever, or as any, to tie a bow on this. Folks, if you want to write in, you can do so to itncast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, you get access to the Discord, and you can just drop us messages right there. Other than that, come catch us live Thursdays at 3:30 Eastern Time over at twitch.tv/amovetv. And if you're looking for the new YouTube VODs, we've moved them over to aMove2. Just search for aMove2 on YouTube. All full-length, uncut podcast VODs are going over there. We have plans for the future. There's a reason we're doing that. You'll see in time. But anyway, aMove2 if you're looking for the VODs. So anyways, that's going to wrap it up. Kyle, before we leave, where can everybody find you?
You can find everything I do over at kylefergusson.com. You should check out those Learn to Play videos I'm putting up over on Heroes Hearth, youtube.com/Heroes Hearth there. A nice little playlist they put together too, so you can watch all of them. I think there's like 6 at this point, maybe more. I'm not sure. I also just wrapped up season 4 of DM Gives Inspiration, the 5th edition Learn to Play podcast. It's 15 to 20 minutes max, and there is a fresh pile of 10 episodes for anyone looking for new advice in that season 4 compilation.
Nice, dude. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. Everything is over at amove.tv. Brand new episode of WoW Killer just went up if you want to hear about flying in Shadowlands. Also, brand new Angry Chicken is up if you're trying to keep up with what's going on with the new meta in Hearthstone. Let's Talk About Star Wars is back for the final season of Clone Wars. Actually, damn near about to be the final episode. And I'd also like to point you in the direction of a new series of shorts I'm doing for the Arrowhead Center over at the New Mexico State University. You can go find the most recent one. It's little tip videos on how to up your professional image when meeting remotely, which a lot of us are now doing. So you can find the most recent one by going to bit.ly/workingremote3. Number 3. Type in number 3. Don't actually spell out 3. So bit.ly/workingremote3. Go check it out. It's a new one. It goes up every Monday. So go and give them a follow over there and find out how I prep all my equipment and whatnot. There's a lot of crossover with how I actually prepare for podcasts because it's the same equipment, the same VoIP tools. Go check it out. Also, check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/ITN if you want to support the show. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, Chris K., Mike C., and Eric C. Thank you for the support, everyone. That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Into the Nexus. Until next time, good luck and have fun, everyone.